but it appears we have camber back in the frame.
Go get her!
They moved the slide box out, extended it. It's no longer angled. It's square in the box.
Like, that's awesome. Are you serious?
Sorry, I think it's fixed. This is good news. It's fixed.
Yay!
Did you see that one-time backup hitch up? It's because it wasn't a tight spot, but I turned, pivoted, and got it just right. All right, so we have a camber issue, and it was first diagnosed at the Tiffin Service Center down in Redbay, Alabama, and then we drove up here to Elkhart or Goshen, Indiana, up here to Lippert to get an assessment where we verified, yeah, we definitely have a camber issue. That was about a week ago. We had an appointment set for this last Tuesday, and they called us and they had to adjust it to today, which is Thursday.
I didn't take a video this morning. It's so cold. I think it's like 43 degrees.
It's cold out here. So here we are. We're in Goshen, and we don't know for sure how long it's going to take. If we didn't ask, they didn't tell. It's probably going to be like a 4-hour effort. That's what we're guessing is what we're hoping for. Who knows? We'll probably find ourselves in a hotel room for a couple days, knowing our luck. We have a 7 o'clock appointment. It's 6:42. We're only about 2 miles away, so we're going to go. This all started when we were going down to Tiffin Service Center, Redbay, Alabama for service, and one of the things that we were getting addressed was our slide. And our slide issue was that it needed to get adjusted, but if you know anything about slide adjustments, you can adjust them left and right and up and down, but the issue that we were having is it was tilted in the box because the top left-hand corner is hitting the top left of the slide, and then the bottom right is hitting the bottom. So it's really just angled as it goes in, and it leaves, I think at one point when I measured it, the bottom right had a gap of 1 inch and the top had a gap of like 3 inches or maybe even 3.5. We had some idea that we had a camber issue because another Vanleigh owner had gone through this a couple years ago and he educated us on the camber issue, and so we knew what to watch for. So while they're in Redbay, they adjusted our slide, trying to get it more centered in the box. It looked like it was a camber issue, and in talking to Lippert, we ran a string test, verified that there was some sag happening at the back of the rig, and one of the things that Lippert asked Tiffin to do to verify that we were having a camber issue is that they put a hydraulic jack at the very back of the frame, and they jacked that up to see if we could square off the box. Once we used that jack and squared off the box, it was pretty much verified that we had a camber issue. So we scheduled an assessment up at Lippert in Goshen, Indiana, and we went up here to verify that we actually had a camber issue. And they did the same thing. They pulled it into the bay, they did a string test, and they verified that we do have deflection at the rear of the rig. So our frame is deflecting. So he said, right in the back, it is deflecting, which is sagging. So the easiest way to explain the camber issue is that your frame is supposed to be a smiley face, and when they build the house on it, it kind of straightens out. And our frame basically is now a frowny face, so it's drooping in the back. Now what that does is it causes the issues that we're having where our box isn't sitting square in the hole, so we're having that gap up by the door, and then it also is rubbing the sills and the wipers and other areas, and the paint lines aren't matching up, and also like our trim fascia that's at the bottom of the slide, since the box is kind of crooked, not going in the hole right, that's now rubbing against the skirting, and those have been broken. Lippert has a standard practice to fix the camber issue, and typically what they do is they put the unit up on 4 jacks. Then the jacks are placed at the outermost edge of the unit. They strip off all the suspension, and what they do is they take 2 12-foot steel 2x2 tubes, and they weld camber into those tubes, and they put new hangers on those tubes, and then they put those tubes back onto the I-beams, and then put all the suspension back on there. With our unit, because of our independent suspension and have to remove the suspension, they did a different approach. They did the same thing where they put it up on the 4 jacks, but what they did instead of adding the 2 12-foot tubing is they heated the frame. With the unit being suspended on 4 jacks and just up in the air, Both techs worked on either side of the unit, just running a really hot bead on the web of the I-beam at the top, just underneath the top flange, working together just at the front of the suspension, working their way back to try to heat that I-beam, to try to get it to relax and to kind of get it to relax to go flat again. They started the heating process just under my door, and they went almost to the back of the rig, almost to the same part where I see them do the steel tubing on the bottom of the I-beam. And they did that on both sides, and they also did the same bead on the bottom of the I-beam on both sides. And once they finished up that, they ran another string test, which indicated that we were now back to a flat line, and they primered, they painted the frame, they put the underbelly back on, and foamed everything back up. So we've spent a lot of time going to service centers, and most often I'm able to go in and observe the process and take pictures and video. Well, Lippert isn't really friendly on pictures and video or even the observing process, but no pictures and video. I am not a metal guy, and I do not understand it, and the whole thing kind of blows my mind. I tell you, one of the things that concerns me is that every time I've seen the fix in the past, they have additional metal supports. And with us not having additional metal supports, it kind of concerns me whether it's going to be a long-term fix or if we're going to see the camber issue come back. When we first heard about camber issues, it was the first time we heard anything about camber, and we started looking in the Facebook group for our manufacturer and seeing that this has been happening for a long time. And I don't know how prevalent it is across other brands, but I'm assuming it's out there, because even since we've put out our last video, we've had comments on our videos saying that people have had it happen to them on other brands. And that we've been having a problem with our leveling for a long time. And while we're down in Redbay, Alabama, those guys took a look at it, but we're still having some trouble. So these guys replaced our rear sensor. Now, we've had our rear sensor replaced before, so we weren't really hopeful about it, but at this point we've leveled several times and it's holding. But we're still holding out on that verdict, whether that's going to help or not. Unfortunately, they did have to cut a hole in our new underbelly to get that sensor on there, but hey, if that works, I'm all for it. All right, so I think that's all I know about camber issues. And just like the guy that educated us on camber issues, now when we walk through a park, I'm able to recognize and see just how common camber issues are out there. And we're hoping that this is a solid fix for us, that going forward we no longer have like the broken slide fascia or the mismatched paint lines and the crooked slide, the broken slide skis, and the scratched tiles. And because we came up here to Lippert, now we're hoping that our leveling system will also work, because that would be like an awesome bonus. But tell me, what did I miss on camber issues? We'll see you next time.
Our camber issue is fixed. Let's hope it stays that way. And I think, dare I say this, I think we're ready to hit the road.
I'ma keep fighting.